know the thing. Oh,
We're ready. We're live.
is we
We're
on?
live.
Is we
Yeah,
recording?
we is.
Listen, I don't know, and I'm gonna say it because we believe in trademarks, we believe in people protecting their stuff, but also understand there are also, I feel like, trends and phases and things you can say. But T.S. Madison, if I am, is we recorded? That is gold. That is gold. I feel like is we recording, is the light on? I feel like it's so gold for every person making content. But good morning,
Mhm.
bossy people, beautiful people. It is Thursday, Thriving Thursday, and you're checking out Biz Chat Daily with your host Tracy V. Allen and London Nicole. Listen, on this show, we get into all the hidden conversations, whether it's pop culture, your business in pop culture, how to stand out in the middle of pop culture, how to sit there and promote your nonprofit in the middle of the world, and provide the hope, the services, the reassurance, and the motivation to your audience. And listen, we're going to get right into it because if you can see, I feel like you was already coming into the conversation before we even had an intro. We're talking about AI. First of all, let's be clear and just I feel like address the elephant in the room. I feel like everybody feels so heavy with everything that happened and took place this month. And if you are in business, if you're trying to sell a product, if you are trying to promote your service, I feel like the first thing you're saying is everybody's still having the same political conversation. The left is fighting with the right is fighting with the left. You're trying to make money. How do you stand out and jump over that conversation or jump in the flow of the conversation or hijack the conversation to kind of get your business out there? And let's talk about, we're going to get, because we talk about money, we're going to get right to it. Tracy, with so much going on and everybody's talking and everybody's fighting and this person should have did this and this should have did this, how do you think
There's a
people
lot of
right
that
now,
going on. Hmm.
listen, how do you think people should stand out between, because we talked about it before, we think this conversation is going to happen between now into January into February, basically that that quarter. So between quarter 4, quarter 1, everybody's going to be having these conversations. So basically for the next 4 to 6 months, how do
Hmm.
I, or how do you believe someone, if they're a nonprofit, if they're an entrepreneur, can kind of, stand out or use this moment to kind of, you know what I mean, get people to really, really pay attention to what they have going on?
Visibility, putting their message out there, letting people know who they are. This is the perfect time. You basically have a captive audience in Q4 because if you're a nonprofit, you're trying to wrap up your year and take advantage of the year end fundraising activities, Giving Tuesday, year end fundraising. If you're a regular for profit business, people looking to buy services, people thinking about planning for next year and what they're possibly going to need. So, this is the time to get in front of that audience and let them know what you have. And there are many different ways in which you can do that. Like we always talk about maps, marketing, advertising, and promotion, and those can come in multiple channels, right? Social media, print, PR, which I think is a dying art right now. Getting someone to be your manager. I know a lot of people, influencers are linked to talent agencies, but
Yeah.
there's smaller PR firms that they can be linked to as well to help with the promotion. I think a lot of people I see are jumping, and I'm not going all over the place, but a lot of people are jumping on like TikTok and the TikTok shop, and because they're selling stuff, TikTok is promoting their promoting their videos so they're able to get more visibility on themselves. But if they don't take
Right.
that and spin it into something for themselves, then it's after the TikTok shop closes or that product goes away, unless they're able to morph into something else and produce a product or service for themselves, I think that they cap out at the TikTok
Right.
shop. And I'm not down in the TikTok shop because there are people making bank on the TikTok
Right.
shop.
Right.
But I think, if to go back to the original question, I think right now a lot of people you have to get visible. Get visible, get your messaging right. What do you want to be known for? You want to be known as a consultant, a coach in whatever specific area. And then once you start getting known in that area, then you can branch off because one industry has many paths, but you have to first get known. You got to be in front of your audience and get your messaging correct.
Right. I think this is a great time to hear what your community problems are. To be
That too,
honest,
yeah.
I think everybody's out
But I
here,
think if you start with the
screaming.
conversations, yeah. I think if you
Yeah,
start
that's
with
why
a
I was like, I
conversation.
think conversations, to me, I feel like conversations is like the perfect thing to do because everybody's out here arguing. So I just kind of feel like, to be honest, it's kind of like you gotta, I feel like before you pop out
Bobby
and be
Lee.
visible, kind of listen because everybody over here is arguing. Because it's kind of like, I feel like the first part when people think about marketing, you want to run
Mhm,
out there and start screaming in the marketplace. And I'm saying it's kind of
mhm,
like get into the mall. The first thing when you go into a mall, you're either looking around to find your store. Some people just will walk around forever, but even in the
mhm,
store, there's some type of map. It's some type of map telling you where everything is at and how you can sit here and get it. But problem to that, why did you go to the mall? Because you have a problem, you're trying to find something. Saying all that to say, I just feel like this is a great time to step back, to look at the left side and see what their concerns, look at the right side. And in marketing, it's putting those interests together. So if you know you're a nonprofit and your nonprofit, I don't know, I'm looking at a car in front of me, is to help give rides to people who don't have transport. It's a car, so I'm just making something up because it's in front of me. It's the first thing I saw. Who is a
mhm,
you have a nonprofit who wants to help people with cars or transportation to get wherever they want to get. And if you're hearing on the
mhm,
left side that cities transportation is horrible, and you're hearing on the right side people can't afford transportation that the city is offering them, that's your time right there to shine. How can your and
absolutely.
Tracy would say come in and say be the hero and save the day? So you're going to get
Mhm,
quick visibility because everybody is screaming save me, save me, save me, and you're supposed to go in like dun 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 dun, and this is what I can do. And I heard you say this, and we can
mhm,
solve that. And I heard you
yeah,
say this, and let us help
mhm.
you do this. And we're gonna do
Or
it
let
like
us help you
this.
find the resources for it, right? Because sometimes
Something.
we can't solve it because we're at capacity and we can't do everything and we can't be everything for everyone. So yes, we
Very
can
true.
act as a resource. But I like to what you described, I like to call working in the gap, right? So you have a problem, you identified the problem, you looked at your competitors and see what part of the problem they're not solving, and that's the part of the problem you go solve. Yeah,
Right. And I
working
was
in the
like,
gap, and
and
that goes
using.
for whether you're a nonprofit or for profit. It doesn't matter. You got to work
Absolutely.
in the gap.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm,
But I feel like that is the best thing. And we talked about it before too, like who can win right now. I think
mhm,
people who talk about economics can win right now. I just feel like people who talk about finance are going to win right now. Let's be clear. Look
mhm,
at your big sphere of influence. I think anybody who wants to go in politics, this is a perfect time for you to go ahead and start campaigning and looking into how can you go into politics. If you're in the sphere of education, whether you are completely for education on this side or completely against education, we all
mhm,
understand you got to be able to read and know this Mercedes if you're trying to get a Mercedes. No matter what you're trying to get from a luxury in to a low point, you know you have to read it. Reading is a part of education. Let's be clear. So teaching, tutoring, after school programs, you know they're going to be a
mhm,
big situation. If you're in media, entertainment, and this side believes in it, this side doesn't, how can you safeguard it? You know what I mean? Or
right,
protect it or stand out against it. You have a company like The Guardian who is actively saying, hey, this is going to be our mission forward is to make sure that we're raising money and we're standing up for media. So you're going to see a lot of
mhm,
our content shift to that. You're seeing companies come out right about now and say, hey, let us be clear about what we do, what we're going to solve, and how we're going to move forward. So I feel like that's the biggest part. I feel like to even just jump on what Tracy was saying about visibility is you got to get the conversation going. You got to be clear about what you're going to do in your capacity that you feel me? That you can have great
mhm,
results in, that you can go out here and start campaigning for. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing I'm seeing. I was telling Tracy I was at McDonald's and it was crazy. I felt like I had 20s, like everybody under like 30 on this side and everybody
mhm,
60 and up on this side. Let me be clear, I
mhm,
can't be in either. I wouldn't know what to do in that. Yo, it's so much out here to do, to drink, to push up your nose, to be a part of, to tell you who you
Mhm.
are. That is a whole bunch of stuff going on. And then you have this
Mhm.
side where you lived a long time, you've seen a whole bunch of stuff, but it's so much new stuff going on, and you're still working. You're not even sure how to end. Both is so many people lost, and they have so many answers and trying to understand. This is the perfect time, I feel like, to come in and be that problem solver. I
Right.
wholeheartedly
But
do.
what I'm seeing currently, though, is a lot of people complaining about the issues that could possibly arise from what is happening politically, but I'm not seeing people coming up with the solutions. You
And
named a few, but those are to me like a drop in the bucket. I
right.
just see a lot of complaining, a lot of fear mongering, a lot of fear, period, but not active solutions. I know that, there are a few people who have tried to organized, but I don't know how that is going currently. Um, I think they're still in the beginning phases from what I understand, but there are
Yeah,
a few
I've
people who
seen
are
I've
trying to
seen I've
organize,
seen
but as a greater
the numbers. Yeah.
community, we have not decided or tried to come up with solutions to the issues that will arise from from all that's happening, like dismantling the education system. And you talked about, what's happening with the education system can open up a lot of opportunities for educators. And as a former or still educator myself, right, I see that. And one of the things I did, so I was on both ends of the education spectrum where I was an educator from elementary adult educate to adult education, including college. Um, and then I homeschooled my daughter. So I've worked in, I have gone through the whole gamut of what education is like. And I think I've said this before. I don't think that a lot of people are equipped to homeschool. So one of the things I can see that will be rising in this gap. Why are you looking around? But
Because
it's
I agree.
seriously not only because think about it. And this
Because I
is me
agree.
being very honest. A lot of people use school as an escape from their kids, not for their
Yes.
kids, from their kids,
Yes.
literally. Okay.
Yes.
So now
And
if
I think, let's
for
be
whatever
clear, I think a lot
reason,
of kids go to school to get away from their home too. I think it's vice
no, they have
versa.
to go to school. So they're at school and they're thankful for being at school to get away from their kids. But a
Yes,
lot of
yes,
parents use school as a way to get away from their kids, right?
yes,
Because maybe you got one too many kids, or maybe you just don't like your kid because that's a thing, right? But
right,
if what is projected to happen with the Department of Education actually happens, I mean, uh, you got to find some place for your kid to go. Privatizing with like charter schools, that's going to create an issue. If we think we have a school to prison pipeline right now, imagine what that's going to be like then, because they don't have to go through all the bureaucracy to get a child out of the school. They can just put you out, and then you're being truant, especially if
right,
your parent cannot be home to homeschool you. And then they're going to try to put a lot of stipulations around homeschooling,
right,
right? Because the pipeline needs to stay intact, regardless of whether the education system stays together or is dismantled. The pipeline needs to stay intact. That's just my version. That's what I believe. The pipeline will stay intact. So they'll just come up with new creative ways to keep that pipeline intact. So I think there's going to be a rise of things like micro school
hmm,
in the communities, because you need
right,
some place for your children to go, but then that's still going to cost, because the person running the micro school still has to pay overhead expenses, still needs to pay themselves and make a living. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what
agree.
happens moving forward. And I think some of these micro schools that will pop up, or homeschooling circles, or associations, whatever you may want to call them, are going to be homebound. Like, they're going to happen in people's homes.
Yes,
So someone who's already homeschooling, has homeschooled, understands homeschooling, and then you'll kind of like just send your child over to Miss Mary's house to be homeschooled while you're at
yes.
work, right? And then you pay Miss Mary
No,
like
I
you were
do
paying
agree.
a
That's what I
babysitter.
see.
Yeah. hmm That's what I
That's
think will
exactly how I
happen
feel
with
about
the
that.
education system. But I think that is one of the biggest areas that people need to be concerned about, because a lot of, to me, what happened politically happened because of lack of education, lack of knowledge, right? Reading is fundamental. That will never change, right? You need to be able to read and comprehend, not call words. There's a difference, right? There are a lot of people who can call words really well. Okay. They can call the biggest words, but it doesn't mean that they understand what those words mean. And
Right.
reading and comprehending what is you're reading is going to be very important. Another thing that's going to become important that I think is lacking, no, I know is lacking, because we saw it throughout this entire election. We see it on social media all the time. The cognitive dissonance that happens between what I say and what you interpreted that you heard. And
Yes.
that goes back to reading comprehension. Because if you read well and you comprehend well, then the audio language would not be so hard for you to translate into making common sense.
Right.
And that's just what it is. There's such a big gap between having a conversation and the interpretation of that conversation to people who just don't have basic knowledge.
Right. Because I think everybody's so busy. And then this is my take on it too. And I think this is why the
Mhm,
business industry is going to suffer. And you already seeing all of the new regulations and all the new stuff rolling in with that. Um, is because of comprehension. Because of
mhm,
that, I think we all have jumped up here and everybody is now talking. I think it hasn't been a separation of I'm talking to get to know someone and show my
mhm.
personality and explain myself. And I want everybody to buy into everything I'm saying all the time. That I think everybody is so busy selling something all the time that they're not
Mhm.
having conversations. And I'm like, and then when you get on platforms like media, and this is why the media industry is suffering, we think
Mhm.
social media is all media. I'm like, the media industry is vast.
Yeah.
Social
Mhm.
media is a small part, but if everybody has no education and you're running to social media to get educated, and the people on the social media platforms are just all talking at you and just giving you information of what they're mostly what they think, what they would have done, and it's no context to it. It's not clear because they're not teachers, they're not great at what they're doing, they're just more entertaining to try to sell and market you something. You see where I'm going with it? I was like, yo,
Yeah.
we're just now, everybody's talking to each other to sell each other. And so I think that's why comprehension is lost too. And I'm saying that because, like I said, I was talking to the under 30 crowd and they're
Mhm.
literally telling me their problem. And I'm like, okay, look at
So
this
what
right in
is the
front of you.
problem? What are they
So their
A
I'll give you
consensus
an
of
example.
what they think the problem is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for instance, their problem is they're not making enough money. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
why? And they're telling me that, hey, they just lost their job, but they just traveled to California. They went here and they came back. And I was like, hey, well, what do you do? What's your social media? They have about 11,000 followers on social media. So
Mhm.
I went to their Instagram. So now I'm looking high engagement. 92% of their audience is engaging with them. Looking at their data, they have celebrities following them and the whole nine. I was like, well, why are you not offering promo? Why are you not selling to your offering, audience and promo? Besides just your
Mhm.
pictures in front of cars, in front of here, and going live, why are you not selling to your audience and doing all of that? Then they got
Mhm.
into, well, I went to a drama school and I did this and I did this and I did this. And I'm like, I hear that, but your problem is you're not making money. You have a whole audience to make money from. Why don't you want to talk to their
Mhm.
audience?
Mhm.
And I just don't have any money. And when I went down the street and I was trying to sell this, I couldn't even sell this to make the money. And as they
Is
were
it something that
talking,
their audience wanted or needed?
they were so busy, right? So when I'm asking them the questions, they were so busy trying to sell me themselves and how great they were and where they went to school, that the
Mhm.
problem that, you feel me, that they were having could be solved
Mhm.
with the audience they were having, but they were so caught up in the problem, and I'm selling you, and they're trying. That's what I mean. I think we're so into trying to sell people, to get them to like us, to buy into us, to help us, to believe us,
Mhm.
that we can't sometimes see when the opportunities are right there for us to do it for ourselves. That's mostly what I'm getting to. And I think that's happening in every single demographic. Um,
Do you think that's a lack of business acumen?
and that's what I was saying. I think it's a combination. I think a lot of it is a
Mhm.
lack of education. Again, if we jump over to every industry, I think it's a lack of education and selling yourself and business acumen, because that is a skill, to know how to sit here
And
and
that
sell
is my
yourself.
biggest fear. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But that is
No,
my
I was like,
biggest
you
fear
like
when
that? I was like, what? What?
that is my biggest fear when it comes to AI. Like I keep saying, I'm down the street when it comes to AI, but I think we're moving too fast. We're moving faster than we
I
should
feel like
be
every
with
time you
AI.
say something, I have a song. You're moving. What's the song by Destiny Child? She's like, "Slow down, girl.
Yeah.
You're moving."
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, yeah.
We're
But
moving
but
too
here's
fast.
again, you said the
And
gap
if
though.
we're not careful, we will
But
lose the 5% or 2% of our brain that we already use because we're not
but
at
let's go back to
100%.
what
We're not
you said,
even,
Tracy. But what you said it, you said there is going to need to be a pipeline. However, you may not think it's going to happen, but they have to have some type of pipeline. So
Mhm,
while technology is pushing up, you know what I mean, and it's great, and it can bring a whole bunch of people, into money, into financial
mhm,
freedom, you still now have a huge gap of education, of understanding it. What does it mean? And that then shifts every other industry beside it, because now when you still think about the business industry, and this is my prediction as somebody in personal brand, like that's just my jam. I think the new
mhm,
hot commodity is going to go back to careers, because now I think to have certain jobs and to have certain titles, you're going to have to be
mhm,
educated. You're going to have to pay for a license or some type of paper or something to say, hey, I really can do this, and to give the separation. That's me,
mhm,
because
mhm.
again, we're very class type of people. We're always, the
Right.
rich is always trying to make some distinctions from the poor, you know what I mean, every group is trying to separate themselves from the other. I think it's going to get back to that career thing. I have because again, if we have
Yeah,
already
I can't believe
seen,
what you're saying because it goes back to the BBL thing, right? BBLs started with like the Kardashians,
and it was a
and
rich thing, and it was a
it was a rich
separation.
thing. Only rich people could access it because it was so expensive.
Ozempic,
And once
Ozempic.
the regular girls started accessing it at the same rate, then the BBLs became taboo. Everybody took out their
It's a
BBLs
poor
and
thing.
reduced their boob sizes, and now skinny is in. But once this becomes accessible, I would love to see. And I heard someone on TikTok talking about that yesterday. I said, "Yeah, I've been saying the same thing all the time." But she said it before I did on TikTok. But me and you've had this conversation before, way before. We've been having this conversation. Every time something becomes trendy and accessible to the regular person, then rich people, the 2%, the 2.5 percenters, abandon it, right? And then something else
because
takes hold. And,
because they own it now, and then they're
mhm,
not going to get higher on the supply than they are. You
right,
get what I'm saying? The
right.
consumer and production. I can't. So if you
Mhm,
back away from it, you have to down, and now you're selling it to the masses, and you're on to the next thing that's coming down the pipeline. So I'm just thinking about what you're saying. If you're like, it has to be a pipeline, what's the next pipeline? If Kim Kardashian just picked up her $30,000, robot the other day, $30,000.
oh, really?
Tesla robot, and she's, you know how
Oh,
you
I
do
didn't
this,
know.
if I do this right here with you, you'll turn around on your end and make a heart. She was making a heart
Mhm,
with it and that type of stuff. And I'm saying, okay, if that's happening with that type of technology, and now I'm thinking about our robot, how long until you know what I mean? Everybody has one. And again, I think it's going to be some time away, But I'm saying that to say it has to be a pipeline for stuff to happen. So if you don't, again, you said it the other day, if you're not a part of programming the robot, if you're not a part of the code, if you're not a part of, let me make that, if you're not a part of prompting the AI, building the AI, or anything along that line, you're going to get left out. So now, if
Mhm.
we even look at education, I'm not going to school to learn how to use AI. I'm not even really going to school. You're going to get put down a pipeline of production to build the AI, to build the type of stuff. You're going to
Absolutely.
get in some type of production pipeline. And if we're
And
seeing
I've
that,
been kind of saying that for a long time. Taking out vocational skills out of the educational system is where we went wrong. Because that's a service industry, because we're still talking about business regardless, right?
right,
They are usually independent businesses themselves, or they work for a big company that does this.
right.
So we're talking about like plumbers, electricians, uh, general handymen. What's the other one? HVAC,
Oh, that AC
HVAC
condition. You're right.
people.
That
Yeah,
the AC
HVAC
conditioning,
people.
heating, all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they are a dime a dozen right now. Like that population of experts, they're aging
But
out and
that's
getting
why
ready
I'm
to
saying the
retire,
career thing
and we don't have enough young people who can fill those roles, right?
to
And
go
if we
down the
don't have enough
pipeline.
people to fill those roles, it's going to be a problem because everybody wants to be a social media influencer.
And again, Tracy, going back to what you're saying on both ends. So
Mhm.
if we're not being educated about our bodies, how to understand our bodies, how to reproduce, and now that's being controlled, you're not going to have more kids to go through this path to get to here. To where you get what I'm saying? Education at the end of anything is going to be the end of anything. It's the beginning
Yeah,
and the end of
education
everything.
is
But
it. And the fact
but
that they
that's what
took
I'm
cursive
saying.
writing out of the school system where people are asking you to translate something written in cursive because they think it's a foreign language is mind
Insane.
blowing.
Right, right,
Mind blowing.
right. That's why it's no different
You're
when I
looking at
hear.
cursive writing and thinking it's written in a foreign language as an adult in your 30s?
I'm telling you, the career, I think the new commodity is going to be careers. I'm going to stick to that, and
You
I'm going to
really
scream that
do.
because,
So you
yes,
think that
because,
there's going to be a decrease in the amount of business? Because right now there's an increase in business owners, right? And people starting businesses. So you think that
but
that is going to
But
decrease?
think about it. That's what people are doing now. You want to be a social media influencer because it holds status. You want to be an
Mhm.
entrepreneur because it holds status. You're not educated, you
Mhm.
don't have the qualifications, you don't have the skill set, but a status. But now if education is changing and the government is changing and this is changing and it says we have to now pay to play because finances is hurting us, now to be an entrepreneur, you have to get this type of paper and this type of thing to say you are. So now you can't just say it. You got to say it and you have to show it to bring you. You see what I'm saying? Coming up a level. So
I do
now if I,
believe you because I think certifications in most cases, like real certifications that you have to take a standardized test to be, you can finish a certification program, but to be considered that, like let's say for instance, project management, you got to take a standardized test by, the project
so
management
you'll look at
institution.
a
It's worth
project
more than a
manager up
degree.
here and as a
Hmm.
creative director down here because you don't
Hmm.
know certain things. You know it's a certification here, but you don't know if it's a certification in creative directing. It sounds
Right.
creative and it sounds popular right now. Creative directors
Hmm.
have been around forever, but why do you hear it now? Because it sounds easier and it sounds cooler than saying a director. Because if you tell somebody you're a director or I'm a major film director, you had to go to school.
Hmm.
So now I think again, if education, it again, I think education is going to become like a luxury. So
Hmm.
soon, I think for you to
It
say
is
you
going to
have a
become a luxury,
bachelor's,
especially if the education system is dismantled. That
like
is
think
going
about
to
it
be a
right now.
luxury.
Come on, like think about it. Even though people have pretended to be a doctor, it didn't last long, and you went to jail. That's what I'm saying. I
Mhm,
think stuff is going to happen where you have to have credentials. Think about it.
mhm,
If you say I am a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a pilot, You all you get club automatically. You are looked at differently because people
Right,
know
because you have to
all
go
the
through a
stuff.
rigorous program, and you have to be licensed or certified by a specific board.
Now think like
Yes.
a millionaire. To become a
Mhm,
millionaire or a billionaire and to live in those places and to have that access to stuff, you had to go through something or you had to have
mhm.
access to those communities, how they think and how
Right.
they have a system. Doctors, lawyers, pilots. Your son was a pilot. That was a whole
Mhm,
system and a whole world and a language of their own.
mhm,
That's how I think he's going to get back down to. So now to say I'm an entrepreneur, people are going to be like, oh, so you got your papers. Okay, big. I think it's
mhm.
going to turn into that type of status. No different
Oh,
how the
wow.
blue check. That's my thing. You know, different. Let's look at the blue check on social media. The blue check used to be
Mhm,
everything on social media. Why is it not
mhm.
everything anymore? Because we all
'Cause now
now
you
have
gotta pay for
access
it.
to pay
Anybody
for it.
can get it as long as you can pay for it.
See where I'm coming from? Everybody, if everybody can be an entrepreneur and everybody can have
Mhm,
all of the AI and we have access and we're not using it, think about it. If they
mhm,
brought the price of it up, people are going to more, they're going to run to it. It's going to turn into a
mhm.
lot of stuff with pay to play. So I think the only thing, because even if you
Yeah,
go back to the BBL,
yes.
BBL. Everybody had it. You don't have it. All the people, Ozempic. Now I think Medicaid is buying into Ozempic. So it's going to be cheaper. So now it's not going to be, oh, if you're smaller and you're skinny, you're rich.
Mhm,
We can all be
mhm.
skinny. So then people are going to get thicker again. I do. I do. People are always going to look for some way for them to say, I am different from those people, or I am this, or is this community, or is this. And I'm telling you, as soon as you meet somebody, and what do you say? How do you meet somebody? What do you do?
Right.
Think about it. I remember you went
And I
somewhere
mean, that
and the
the
lady,
scenario you just said has happened throughout history, so it's not anything new. It's been
but think about, I
happening,
was
with the
through, I was,
spice
I was even
trade
thinking, like I said, what
with
you went through.
mhm,
When you had went to, I remember you went to somewhere for physical therapy, and the girl was like, oh, okay, and she's like, well, what do you do for a living? You was like, oh, I'm a CEO of my business. And her whole attitude with you had
mhm.
completely changed, and she was rubbing you a little deeper, a little, okay,
Yeah.
because when you're talking about being a CEO and now people have
Mhm,
shows where they're understanding what a real CEO is and what that looks
mhm,
like, again, the price to play and the entry fee is really high.
mhm,
If
mhm,
you're telling me even data is showing the average American isn't, or average person isn't a millionaire until they're after 40, again, that's why so
mhm,
many people in their 20s were trying to be a millionaire to have some type of status. So
mhm,
that's why I'm
mhm,
saying, and the same thing with history and time has told. And I think you were saying something about like spice trades. It was like a thing, like, ooh, even if I hear
mhm,
somebody say I own a winery or a play like a tobacco field, or if they said a sugar mill, or you got
mhm.
money, that's a different level of wealth because it's a completely different level of wealth.
Yeah.
You're about to sit here and start a school soon.
Mhm.
Completely different level of wealth. You're
Well,
in
I
a
don't know if
whole,
you're gonna get wealthy too much in the school, but
but
you'll be
it's not,
okay.
but that's what I'm saying.
Mhm,
And the way we consume wealth, who says
mhm,
I'm gonna do a whole school situation? That's thinking so
mhm,
much. That's what I'm saying. It's a different level of wealth, not wealth in
mhm,
terms of liquid cash flow, but what you have, you know what I mean, pushed out into
mhm,
society
mhm.
that a large amount of people can be a part of. That is
Yeah.
thinking to me like a millionaire. That's a whole
Mhm.
different level of wealth. Again, if you tell somebody right now, hey, I'm a CEO, this, and we're like, looking
Mhm,
to, get this so we can buy a school. Oh,
mhm.
different, complete level of wealth. And I think that's where we're going to,
I think
especially in
so
this
too.
political
I
climate.
completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I know like right now the stock market is up, right? But I don't think it's going to last. So some people are using it as a, oh, look, the economy is already changing for the positive. But I think it's a bubble that is going to burst eventually. Most of what is up in the stock market is like anything that has to do with like Bitcoin. Those are what's really up in the stock market right now. But I
And this,
don't
see,
think it's
this
going
is,
to last.
and that's what I mean. Education once again. What is Bitcoin? You
Mhm.
get like, what is Bitcoin?
You
How do
know, a
you
lot of
use it?
people who still don't understand it.
I'm one of those people. I am people. Because I'm like, let me tell you, it's no different from that trend of the NFTP, the NFP, the
Oh yes.
NPT.
What happened to the NFTs?
Because it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. It was like trading cards, but they weren't trading cards. But you could share them, but you couldn't download them, but you could. And I was like,
Yeah. They lived in the and the same thing with digital real estate. So a lot of things happen. Like people were buying like the air over people's homes and stuff like that. They owned that digital real estate.
the
I'm like,
only digital real estate you have is on the internet, is your website, other website. That's my term of digital real estate. I think
yeah.
everybody should own digital real estate. But yeah, I
And then
remember
yesterday
you
I was
could buy
listening to this guy.
space, like
Uh-huh.
space or something. I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I was
But I'm sorry,
listening
what
to
were you
this
saying?
guy talk about how I think it's the Pokemon game, how they
But
tricked people into doing their geotagging work for free and still get paid. I think it's the Pokemon game. I want to say that's what it was. So they had like, all these, remember when everybody was going all over the place? This game that everybody was playing at one point in time and they had to go
that's
here and
not
there and
being
find.
funny, but it was genius. That the Pokemon, because that's the whole part of the game. Like,
Right.
only you can see them, they can see you, and you have to walk around with your phone and you can spy
Right.
them and
They
catch them.
used it
I'm
to
I'm sitting here.
geotag the United States. They used it to geotag the United States. So people thought they were playing a game, but they were tracking your movements through the game. So they were able to geotag and now they charge people for that too. And then you are paying them to level up in the game, to get certain whatever prizes or whatever. So that's the biggest deep fake I
Yo,
like.
I'm thinking about it
We
now, and
we
I'm
never
like,
gonna need this, and they created a game to make people do their job and pay
I'm
them to
just
do
sitting
their
here
job.
thinking. I'm like, it's so many people in beauty and fashion who can so use that. Yo, and this might sound crazy. I also can see that it isn't. It's very similar to what Aldi's was trying to do when you come in, to not have to keep scanning their prices with coupons to figure out if something is on sale because their stuff is already on sale. However, I can see food companies like really using that and playing into like
Mhm,
getting discounts and stuff on food. Because I think if grocery stores really were to lean more into technology of
mhm,
scanning your food as you're shopping to save
mhm.
money and to do
There
discounts,
was a
I
store
think
that used to do that. Where did I
Walmart,
use
I'm telling you, Walmart needs to take listen to
There was a
Walmart.
store I used to go to in Connecticut that when you came in, you could just get your thing and you can scan as you
It
go.
was Whole
So by the
Foods
time you
trying
get
to
to the
do that.
checkout.
Remember Whole Foods and Amazon was trying to partner, I think, together where they
Yeah.
had stores and you can walk in and do that.
Mhm,
But I think if like
mhm,
places like Walmart can do it, I think that would be genius. Even if you walked in and you picked up a phone from Walmart, and as you put your name in, your stuff in,
mhm.
you could scan and calculate
Yeah.
your food in your cart
I used
right
to be
then
able
and
to do
there.
that. I can't remember what store I used to go to in Connecticut
I
that
think that would
had
be
that.
genius.
Yeah,
Because
that
literally
had
you
that.
could do that and it can say, hey, with these three items, if you add one more, you can save 30% and bring your total down. Because that would,
Mhm,
again, education is lacking. So that
mhm,
technology is teaching people how to grocery shop, which is a life skill that in the family
mhm,
sector that's hurting, is people don't have grocery shopping skills, life skills. They don't have a lot of money management you know what I mean? And food is expensive and you need somebody to shop your product. So I'm again, this is why I'm thinking careers are going to be the new thing. It's going to be people in any industry. If you can solve problems, be innovative, have capacity for people and the people you're serving. And I think all of
mhm.
those things is how you get
Capacity for
visibility.
people. Capacity for people is gonna be super. Yes, you have to have the capacity for people. Yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't. If we're
No,
being
I don't. I
honest.
don't. I don't. No, 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 and that's so crazy. It is and it isn't. But you said it again too. If you feel like you don't have as much capacity for people, this is why you hire people who do.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's what I also think with this whole shifting and political climate with the changing and the shaking of the tree. I think that is
Mhm.
really what's happening. I think people are being like, hey, I don't have the capacity for this job, or I've been holding on to this job just for the money. I think a lot of people are making those life, I think they're doing a lot of reflection, like this is not really what I'm
Mhm.
supposed to do, called to, my purpose isn't here, I don't have skill sets. And I think because a lot of people are retiring and changing positions, changing positions, people they
Mhm.
brought in that weren't educated in it or weren't trained in it or weren't good in it. I think a lot of these
Mhm.
shifts are definitely happening.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. Well, this is a good chat. We covered a lot of ground today.
Listen, we went through tons of industries, all types of stuff happening, but
I know. We covered a lot of ground today, but it was all relevant back to like what is happening with our
in the
political
political,
system right now
and you trying to
and
sell and talk
how
to people.
mhm mhm and
Because
how
I
it,
think
it
that's a
really
hard time. Yeah,
mhm
and I'm saying I think it's just a hard thing. We said it before. We look on TikTok, which was supposed to be a platform to instantly like pop off and to do those things, and now it's turning
mhm.
into a small QVC, which I don't know why QVC not getting, like
I
QVC,
know. It is a
QVC.
QVC and HSN all rolled together. I
Listen,
swear.
if I
Like
was
sometimes I like
QVC,
it, but sometimes it's overwhelming because sometimes I just want to go on and just get drowned out in other people's issues, right? And every other scroll is an ad. Somebody
and I'm
trying to
like, but
sell you a product from the
QVC
TikTok shop.
should be like QVC, like they should be. Did they drop a new app or something? Like the way people are shopping online, QVC got to be in their bag. They
Not on
have to be
Facebook. I
expensive.
think QVC's on Facebook though.
Really.
Yeah.
Like like it's ridiculous. So I think places
Mhm,
where like Facebook, which is kind of hard, Instagram,
mhm,
where you're not sure to say, or you're trying to make pretty pictures, you're trying to get on TikTok to sell and to promote your business in the whole nine, and you see all of this political stuff happening. You don't know
mhm,
anything about politics. You had to get, you had to understand a little bit, you could understand, to vote correctly for you and your family. So you
mhm,
can't do all of that stuff. And I think a lot of people just feel lost and stuck. And how do I get to visibility, and how do I break out? I have all the things to sell, I know how to talk, but how do I break out of that in the middle of this political climate? And I've seen people have that conversation. I've had that thought and conversation in the whole nine. So I'm pretty sure our
mhm.
audience have had the same thing and the same struggles. So I just wanted
Absolutely.
to talk about all of those things. If they were struggling with it or not knowing what to say, because again, I know you talk about messaging a lot, and a lot of it
Yeah.
sometimes is really not knowing what to say,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. And that's why you got to practice, right? And make sure that you're talking to your audience about your message. Maybe not online at first, maybe in person, run it past a few people, hear some feedback from them, and tighten up your message so you know exactly what it is that you do. You may do work every day, but it doesn't mean that you can translate in words what it is that you do for your audience. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are just not verbal communicators. If you ask them to write it out,
true.
they can. If you ask them verbally, they'll go all around the world, and then you have to pick out from what they just said what it is that they actually do. But
Right.
being a the ability to be concise with your messaging and what it is that you do becomes very important because there's a lot of noise, and you want to cut through the noise and get straight to the meat, or cut through the fat,
Right.
get straight to the meat. So Yeah, so that's it for us today, and we'll be back tomorrow. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll be back tomorrow. We're on Monday through Friday, unless something happens. Seven
Listen, like
thirty
you know,
a.m.
listen.
Yeah, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you usually do the sales pitch really well. See,
Oh
you got
yeah,
to
because
know
I
where
be
your
ready
strong points are, and this is her strong point, not mine. So go ahead.
because I be like, get to it. If you're gonna offer me something, sell it to me. Give it to me. That's how I feel. Sell me the pen. I feel like if you're really good, and I think people didn't quite get that analogy when he was like, sell me the pen with the Wolf of Wall Street. But
Well,
all
maybe
he's
we could talk
saying
about
is,
it tomorrow. Selling the pen, because we talk about messaging all the time, and right now people need to know how to sell the pen. But anyways, our sales pitch for today.
self-dependent. And my first thing is, and again, in his words was, "Hey, I have a check for you." You know what I mean? Like I think it was something like, you have a check, but you have to sign your name. Do you have a pen? And he was like, "Oh my God, no, I don't have a pen." And he was like, "Here you go, I have a pen for you." So again, it's anticipating, and I feel like the best way I can do it is because I've just worked in service for so long. Is kind of like being a waitress. You have to anticipate your audience needs. You have to already think about what they need before, because again, you're serving this person and this person, you got a whole thing going on, so you kind of get to use to people's behavior. You're anticipating, and I'm that type of person when it's time to talk about sales, or if I know I want something from you, I'm like, is there a link? Can I just go ahead and buy? I don't have all day. But again, in all of this, let me be very clear. If you are struggling with your messaging or your core point, or what your key, what your key thing is, because I think the biggest thing of what we talked about today was marketing. So if you're not sure of how to find that sweet spot or what your sweet spot is, then book a consultation call. So Tracy has a whole bunch of things going on right now with specials. And I'm not even trying to get, because I already know like a couple of things she had, and I was about to start, girl, pre-selling stuff already, because she told me about it. However, but please, please put your name in the bottom, hit her up. She's so good at getting right back to you. But if you are having trouble with your messaging, please, please, please drop a comment below or hit her up, because she has a whole bunch of specials going on with that coming up. But more importantly, we're going to talk about this until the show ends. The best thing to the show ends, until we're not recording. If you are a nonprofit, if you are a business owner, if you are trying to start a business, if you are trying to kickstart what you have going on, you need money, right? Right. A grant takes time to get them to get it, to process it, for you to get the money. Somebody else writing you a check, you still got to take it to the bank, and it's going to get 3 to 7 days. You want money today, then you need to learn how to fundraise, and you need to understand what fundraising is. And I'm not talking
Absolutely.
about your mama and them fundraising, where they stand up there and they talk about the building,
Yeah, not
the building
the
going to be
cookie
built.
sales.
Listen, we're
Yep.
talking old school fundraising. I'm talking about, I want you to go back in the day, fish plates, seeing kids hustle with chips on the bus. I need you to think about yourself that way. You have something, whether it's a cookie, it's a pie, it's a sticker. You have something you could be hustling, right? Because we understand
Yes.
hustle, that you can take that energy of a hustle and translate into funds for your business to start now. Until the grant gets here, until the check gets clear, you need money now. Be sure to check out this book. She just had it up in her hand. It's a link where you can
Mhm.
get the
Really
downloadable
good.
version, or you can get the physical person. I am a little bit of both. I feel like if you're going to download, and you're not, and you need to like write, then just physically get the copy. If
Yeah.
you're like me, I use an iPad and
Mhm.
I can download and write with my pen. I'm a downloader girl.
Mhm.
So either one,
Mhm.
whether you're really big into tech or something that way, fundraising is a really big thing. I'm going to eventually show you guys my form that I'm using with
Mhm.
that book, of how I'm tracking myself to raise a certain type of money. You get what I'm saying? By the end of the year, so you guys can know it's a real thing. Because if something not working, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, Jesus, I'm lost, it's not working. So we're very,
Yeah.
very
And
transparent over here. Because business,
what about your
again,
earning
that's what this is.
packages?
Huh? Oh
What
yeah,
about your earning
girl. Thank you.
packages?
Listen, I had completely forgot. Listen, some of y'all, it's the holiday time. This is the time that you've been waiting all year. You've lost the weight. You look good. You got new stuff going on. Some of y'all brought new clothes that you never wore clothes. that you need some updated headshots, you need updated pictures, whether you want to try to sit here and send them out before the end of the quarter or you want to start at the top of the year. I have all of these photography packages going on. So if you have been, it's a beautiful list I have going on of different hotels, especially in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. So pull out your trench coats, grab a fur baby. This is the perfect time to take holiday pictures. It's the perfect time to sit here and take personal branding photo shoots. And I have all of those packages going on. So drop me a comment, DM me. You can always hit Tracy up if I didn't respond because I'm somewhere probably running around some spicy people, including myself. But listen, this is the perfect time to position yourself to get out there. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating, but that's why we're here with you 7 a.m. in the morning. 7 a.m. in the morning, and understand we're like this. So the same energy you see until we talk all day until probably like 10 or 11 until somebody passes out. And then I
Mhm.
want to guess, Tracy, you probably been up what, 4:30, 4:30.
Mhm.
Right. So I let me I'm about an hour behind that. About 5:30.
Mhm.
So that is a long day. And a lot of times you can be very busy being
Mhm.
busy and not being
Yeah,
busy being productive. And I'm telling you,
absolutely.
as because you're scared. You're scared to do the stuff you want to do because you think it's going to make other people around you feel left out.
Mhm.
As captains, me and Tracy are captains of team doing too much, do too much because this is your business. You see it. And as the hero, and I'm going to use Batman,
Mhm.
Batman had a car, Batman had a motorcycle, Batman had a cape, Batman had throws. That is you and your business. So whether you have a podcast or a show or your brand or you have to put packages out, you have to sell yourself and feel comfortable with it. And we just want to be here with you and give it to you straight and hype you up in this process of selling yourself. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say, and scene, because we care, you care. And when you care,
Yeah,
you can keep going on and on and on because you
yeah.
care, we've been in every single process and every single phase that we're telling you about. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, doing it with somebody else, talking to somebody else about it is so much easier than out here crying and struggling and being in the bathroom crying and taking the crying showers by yourself. Even though those are all great things to be a part of release, this over here is a different lifestyle. We're telling you to jump in it, open those wings, get some air in it, and you got to get out here and try to start flying. Because again, you never know where you're going to
Absolutely.
be at.
Yep. All right. Until tomorrow, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another Biz Chat Daily. Bye.